our first panelist, State of MCP Security. Raji, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you. Awesome.
Hi, everyone.
Awesome. So we have Raji over here, guys. She's a little bit of introduction. She's from Microsoft. She's principal engineering manager, AI security at Microsoft. I've had wonderful interactions with her in the past few days, especially, and she's going to be talking about state of MCP security today. So I give the stage to you, Raji. Maybe start with a little bit of introduction, and then we can, dive deeper into the session itself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Ankita. Excited to be here in the first Agentic and MCP AI conference here. I'm really excited to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And for anybody who's watching the session later, excited to talk about MCP security. It is what is powering the next generation of AI. Start with a quick disclaimer, and then we'll jump into introduction. So as Ankita kind of said before, I'm a principal engineering manager at Microsoft running AI safety and security. My team is responsible for the end-to-end vulnerability lifecycle for across Microsoft AI services and products. I also lead the MSRC's engagement with AI researchers. So if any of you in the audience or watching the recording later are an AI security researcher looking to collaborate, or you're a security researcher looking to break into AI, kind of what Ankita said, secure AI is the future. So please reach out to me. I'm happy to chat. So in today's agenda, we're going to start from the basics, right? Like I'm the first, so let's start from basic. What is MCP? Why it matters? We're going to kind of go down what are some MCP terminologies? We are all on the same page. We'll talk a little bit about what we are seeing in terms of enterprise adoption trends and some implications of it. And then obviously what is happening to the threat landscape because of that, and how can we mitigate? And then finally, a call to action to everybody. Let's start with a little history lesson. Long time ago, in the olden days of AI, that is before November 2024, MCP, when you were interacting with AI agents or LLMs, it did not have the context of your enterprise or the data. So basically, it was a standalone instance, and that's it. And if you did want to connect a tool, you had to build custom integrations. So that was what was there before. So in November 2024, really long ago in AI terms, MCP was created by Anthropic, and it is an open protocol. It is open source. It is available. The standards and the specifications are available at modelcontrolprotocol.io. Anybody can go read about it. And with this, it unlocked the potential of AI. It changed. Now LLMs can actually have the context of the enterprise and the data, and they are able to create actions. This is fondly known as the USB-C for connecting LLMs to software tools and APIs. So basically, it's a standardized interface, whether you want to connect to a database, a file server, an API, an application, you're able to do that using MCP. Because of this, as you can imagine, it exploded. Because of the reusability, the ease of use, MCP now became a unified package, and we were able to take actions with AI. And this drove the agentic AI. It powered that agentic AI enablement across the enterprise. Let's talk a little bit about a few terminologies we will be using. MCP host, this is basically your AI model. And then you have another terminology called MCP client. The MCP client is like a VS Code or a Cloud Code, which controls or which manages the transfer of information between the host and the server, and ultimately to the downstream APIs. The MCP server, this is a lightweight implementation, and it exposes some capabilities and like files or databases, etc., and it connects to downstream APIs. So ultimately, MCP server helps to enact action through those APIs. So it makes it simple for LLMs to connect to APIs through this interface. So that's basically what it is. I realize I did not define MCP for you all, so let me define that. MCP stands for Model Control Protocol, and if you want to understand like a quick elevator pitch, read it opposite. So it's a protocol which provides context to models. So that is how we unlock the value of AI. Few more definitions, and then we'll jump in. Fourth one is about tools. This is called a Swiss knife for all AI, right? This is basically the functions that can be invoked by the client. And guess how many are there? Many, everything. And imagination is the limit here. Resources. This is the data or the content exposed by the server. And then prompts are user invoke prompts, which you can create templates to interact with the AI model. So these are a few terminologies. So basically, what did we see with kind of what we talked about? MCP became the backbone of the enterprise, and there was an explosion of MCP servers across enterprise. So some data facts are there were almost 16,000 MCP servers created to date, and there were more than 1 million downloads of the SDK. It is supported today by major cloud providers like AWS, Azure, GCP, as well as IDEs like Cloud Code and VS Code. It's also adopted across multiple industries, whether it is media, healthcare, finance, and tech, of course. But also MCP created a web of connections, almost unrelated connections, unexpected connections, which basically led to some unexpected consequences and started to bring extreme complexity into the picture. So people started to think about, so one of the things we are seeing is that focus on logging and monitoring when it comes to performance, as well as troubleshooting and usage patterns. Then as we talked a little bit about agentic AI, it has exploded mainly because of the ease of use and how it can be reused across various tools and resources. And because of the standardization, this helps to enable the agentic AI. The third thing we are seeing is that because of the sprawl of MCP servers across enterprises are looking to build registries or inventory systems to continue to provide observation as well as visibility to what is going on. One thing I will say is that when your AI application ingests data which is already in scope for a compliance requirements, like for example, it is GDPR compliant or HIPAA compliant, remember your AI application now becomes in scope for it. So you have to really think about data requirements, auditing requirements, as well as retention before you start to code these. So these are some of the trends we are seeing in the enterprise. With MCP server introducing a new layer in the AI stack, it basically helps to connect the AI model to internal tools. What it does, it opens up a new enterprise threat landscape. And so we are seeing some new threats in the space, and I will go a little bit into some of the threats. Mainly another thing which we are seeing is that MCP servers, they act as a bridge. And because they act as a bridge between the AI agents and an unlimited number of data sources, because with great power comes great responsibility, this can make sensitive enterprise information available to unauthorized users. So this is why it's very, very critical to really think about MCP security. So some of the security implications we are seeing, as we talked about, is the expansion in the threat landscape. Some of the threats we are seeing are, some attacks we are seeing here are tool poisoning attacks. So in this particular case, what happens is an indirect prompt injection where malicious instructions are hidden inside the tool description, and it tricks the agents into performing unexpected actions. With tool shadowing, what we're seeing is that an attacker can stand up a mimic a server similar to a legitimate server, so which confuses agents, and this leads to data exfiltration. Rug pull is another very interesting attack we are seeing. Basically, that an MCP server today is legitimate, and tomorrow it decides to become a malicious behavior. So it's almost like a hidden attack, and it will show up after a fact. The prompt injection, of course, with AI and prompt injection, this is the gift that keeps giving. So with AI, with MCP, prompt injection gets supercharged, because when AI agents, with interactions, with injections, if your agent can authorize your bank, authorize wire transfer, that's never fun. Unauthorized. So of course, and then the last but least, but not one, is excessive permission. We've always seen in enterprise a sprawl of excessive permission. This has been a problem in security all the while. MCP servers, no exception. We are seeing excessive permission. And because of this permission overload inside the MCP server, it is creating a centralized treasure trove for attackers. The last one is unauthenticated access. Really think about this as leaving your front door open. And so with MCP itself, the protocol itself, in June 2025, they've announced support for OAuth, and it is slowly getting more secure. So these are the big security implications we are seeing across the enterprise due to MCP and Agentic. Moving on, what can you do in order to mitigate yourself from these kind of attacks? The first thing I would say is focus on basics, secure design, secure coding practices. There are lots of standards given by OWASP as well as Cloud Security Alliance, which you can leverage. Some of the top things I would have you all focus on is defense in depth. Like really think about hardening your servers, applying zero trust principle, ensure you have least privilege overall, and then log and monitor all tool interactions. And then really focus on supply chain security. Do not download something you don't trust. Monitor for unauthorized changes in models, embeddings, APIs, and data providers. So with these, you would be able to mitigate some of the threats we talked about before. Of course, with AI and with anything else, you never know what can go wrong. So definitely plan for incident response and ensuring that you can continue to monitor and react when something does go wrong. Have your incident response teams ready, have them understand latest and the greatest of security and some of the threats. So that way, they are ready to go when there is an incident, and you're able to recover from it quickly. The last one, as we are going on, what is next for MCP as a model itself, as a protocol? They're working on building stronger identity and trust models. They're working on granular permission and sandboxing. They're working on cross-protocol security consistencies. These are what is coming up in the future for MCP. Of course, like I said in the beginning, MCP is an open protocol. That means that anybody here who is interested in making it more secure, please feel free to reach out. modelcontrolprotocol.io, the community section. They would be happy to, and there's a Discord server, and you can get involved. We all need to do this together. Security is teamwork, and we all need to work together to continue to enable ourselves and protect ourselves from these advanced threats as we talked about. Moving along, so what can you do? What can everybody do? If you are a developer, really focus on input validation. Yes, again, input validation, we are back again. Sanitize tool descriptions. And then if you're a platform builder, really focus on displaying the full tool metadata and enforcing session security. And if you're a user, like, do not connect to random servers. Monitor session behavior and watch for unexpected tool updates, because then something's gone wrong. So ensure that all of this information is fed to a SIM, and you're continuing to monitor and log all this data so you can be notified if there is some unexpected behaviors. So in summary, what did we talk about today? We talked about MCP servers are like a third-party desktop plugin or extension. They are easy to install, easy to trust, until they are not. Of course, traditional security still applies, so continue to do your basics, your authorization, authentication, secure coding practices, DevSecOps, CI/CD pipelines, ensure that they're all secure. Think about logging and monitoring, think about incident response. All of this is really important. And don't install what you don't explicitly trust. And always apply principles of least privilege, defense in depth, and robust supply chain security. That's the end of my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer.
Okay, yeah, there are lot more questions in the Q&A session. So let's see, can we get, model context protocol, MCP. So when MCP vulnerability scanners came, and what kind of engine they use, engines means what kind of automation it will be.
Sorry, what was that? I didn't get that question. Sorry,
There's a
Ankita.
question in Q&A. You can also look, but so by Rishabh Patel, when MCP vulnerability scanners came, what kind of engine do they use? Engines means what kind of automation it will be. I think what they're trying to say is, what if you know anything about MCP vulnerability scanners, what kind of engine are they using behind the scenes?
I'm not familiar with what kind of engines they're using. What I would say is that in general, the way we are looking at these are basically the attacks we are seeing in the wild, and and basically working out of that and continuing to modify rules to basically take care of it.
Got it. Yeah, I think somebody answered that also, but yeah, correct. So essentially, rule-based engine to
Yep.
identify MCP maliciousness and vulnerabilities, correct?
Yes.
Um, okay, so the second one is, how are vendors measuring ROI or success from MCP integrations? Is it faster insight, reduced toil, reduced cost, or something else? So I guess question for us, not really for you, this one also, because you're not a
Okay.
do you use a third party provider to check or scan your MCP? This is for you. Do you use a third party provider to check or scan your MCP integrations or servers?
I am not familiar with that, like specifically third party. We have some internal scanning we do, and we continue to monitor and see what kind of vulnerabilities are present.
Got it. And what would you recommend for people who are, trying to maybe use a scanner? Should they go for open source, look for a third party, or they build in-house, or they don't do that at all and wait maybe when the market matures?
I think it's always better to get started earlier, right? Like, I mean, whatever works for you, right? Within your context. I don't know your organization context. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm happy to chat about it. But really
Yeah.
depends on your organizational context. It depends on what specific specifications you have. What are your policies And so it depends whether you can use third party, whether open source, or do you have the bandwidth to actually build something in house. I would say
Correct.
don't wait for market, right? Like market will come, but like if you're seeing challenges, start. I mean, start again from the start, from basics, right? Start by doing an inventory of how many MCP servers are there, how many of them are legitimate. Also, user education, right? Ensure that your users are educated, that they are not downloading random MCP servers, or you're getting an alert when such a thing is happening.
Awesome. Yeah. Got it. So you basically what you're saying is start early. If you see the urgency, if your organization really needs it to be secured, start now. Don't
Yep,
wait for a perfect solution to arise. And the first thing is like visibility for
yep.
you. Uh,
The inventory, right? Like basically ensure that you know what are the MCP servers you have in your enterprise, what is their use cases, and how can you can to help educate people,
Correct.
because everybody is excited about the what it can do, but you also have to stop and think about how do I make it secure so it does not become my new attack vector.
Correct. And you also talked about educating the users and the developers, all of that. And I think that's also a very good angle because education is very important right now, guys. I mean, it's like right now, nobody knows really what these MCPs can really do. If the all the attacks that you mentioned are so new in terminology for everyone to
Yep.
understand. So there is a lot of education needed even for developers. The thing I want to ask you is here is my question. Because you mentioned inventory, I've seen lots of organizations like Anthropic, Microsoft, of course, which they all have their own registry of MCPs. Do you suggest anything like using starting with those to just have inventory, or do you suggest any other things? Like,
Absolutely. Start with what you have. Like I said, start somewhere, and then you can obviously expand to
yeah,
whatever else is there. The other thing we are seeing right now is MCP gateways, right?
yeah,
MCP gateways kind of replacing kind of API gateways in the
yeah,
past, like when application did not know how to talk, a new standard came up, API, and they were able to talk. So kind of MCP is doing that for AI, right? So that's kind of what we are thinking. So MCP gateways will remove some of these initial, like developers, MCP developers today are actually implementing their own authentication service, right? And we don't want them to do that. That's hard security. And to scale that successfully, you need to be an identity expert. So, MCP gateways can take those away from them. So that way the developers can focus on building beautiful experiences and security people can do security work.
correct. That's true, Raji. I think very good point, right? And what you're getting to is basically MCP is seeing what API saw a few years back, 10 years back.
Yep. Yep.
Um, Everyone was building with API, so of course, gateways and the whole
Yeah.
ecosystem came in. And now the same thing we are seeing with MCPs.
And if you go back even further, right, ODBC, right, that was the same thing. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like that's the same step. I feel the way I'm looking at MCP or the way I'm hearing about MCP is almost like that, right? So that's why the next, as you're seeing now, slowly MCP gateways are propping up,
yeah,
which is helping to kind of take away all this toil from the developers so developers can continue to build beautiful experiences and we can, and, be secure by default.
correct. No, absolutely. I think
You
bringing,
said something, Ankita, about like education of users, right? I
yeah,
think here, specifically in AI, right, we are all learning together. So
yeah,
there's an aspect of everybody coming together and learning together. It's about the community coming together.
yeah,
That's why it's like really exciting that something like MCP, which is so powerful, is an open protocol. So if anybody on this call or anybody is actually interested in like contributing to this, please go ahead to
yeah,
contextprotocol.io and
yeah.
join the community.
Absolutely. I mean, it's you said the right thing, right, Raji? And I keep talking about it. AI is so new. AI security is so new. You won't find lots of expert in the space because it's just so new. There's no person who's like doing it for 10 years or something. So we are all learning. We are all educating ourselves. We are educating the community. Um, it really starts from if you're a security leader, it really starts from learning yourself and educating your developers, your users in house. Um, that's the most important thing. And coming to the basics of MCP security, as Raji mentioned, and we'll talk a lot about it as we go further in the sessions, but especially what she mentioned, basic stuff is having inventory. Whatever you have in house in terms of maybe if you're using Microsoft or Anthropic, they already have registries in place. So maybe start with that. Have a good inventory of MCPs. Start by basic stuff like maybe look at a scanner if you have open source or in-house or something like that. She mentioned input validation. Start with that. Start with a gateway. MCP gateways are it's new again, but it's something that a lot of companies are adopting, and maybe of course before you start with that, educate yourself if that makes sense for your company at this stage. But that's also a basic requirement maybe companies will move towards. So very like all really good points for somebody who's just starting in their journey, especially because it's so new, right?
Yep,
uh, thank you. I think I'm going to look at one or two more questions just in interest.
absolutely.
Is there a industry standard currently to configure credentials as part of interacting with MCPs for our org? Yes, so somebody answered the model context protocol.io
Mhm.
is where all the industry standards are. How do you handle obfuscated multi-step prompts that try to hide instructions across tokens? Do you want to answer that?
What was the question again? Can you repeat?
Yeah, it's how do you handle obfuscated multi-step prompts that try to hide instructions across tokens? Um,
So that's basically indirect prompt injection,
yeah,
right? Like, so you have to think about it as how do you like we have a few solutions at Microsoft. One is called Prompt Shield, right? Prompt Shield will help to highlight, hey, there is possibly a prompt here, and so but indirect prompt injection is a big deal in the industry with AI. So you have to continue to ensure that you have regex, and defense in depth is really important. Defense in depth with AI is no longer optional. It is really required. So you need to have multiple layers of defense so that you can actually tackle it in different ways. One is regex, then you can do markdown handling, content security policy. It's again back to basics. Do your basics.
yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I guess Satish, this answers your question. In fact, I mean, yeah, it's a basic stuff that we can do. Ankush also answered this well. There's one more. Do you expect MCP to evolve into an open standard? Which the answer is yes, it is already there.
It is an open standard,
Yeah.
yes.
The question from Vinod is tool poisoning attack, shadowing attack. These will be prevented if the end user does not have control over the addition of MCP server to interact with. Correct? Um, yeah.
I I It really depends on how you configure your MCP server. You do want the end user to interact, right? That's why you have the LLMs and the client and the server. But it really depends on how you configure the MCP server. How are you authenticating, and what kind of roles you're providing?
Awesome. Okay. Great. So I think, I mean, there are more, but I guess those are like one word kind of answers we are already writing. So great, Raji. This is the end of the session for the state of MCP security. Thank you so much for joining the session, for educating our users, our not users, just the audience itself. Wonderful, wonderful session. Guys, this will be available as a recording, but thank you so much, Raji.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for having me. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you, Ankita.
Thank you. Thanks, Raji.